a Shona word, and we're going to understand that today. That is why we are here today, to learn and to hear what is UkuFemba and how does it go. All right. So I think let me just get to it. I thought I would be here around 8:30, build the 7:30, build the momentum, but yeah, Closely had other things. I'm actually been apologizing to those whom I had to send treatment for today, to say I'll send tomorrow after tomorrow's appointments, because yeah, what was supposed to be my last consultation happened to be not my last, and I ended up having a longer day than I anticipated. But I'm here. They did not disturb the 8 o'clock appointment, and that is the most important thing, because today, Jengoba Ngisho, we are here. We are going to talk about UkuFemba. This is a question that has been asked, and I am here to just meet the objectives per class request. So anybody who's new, or anybody who will be joining, just remember, Learning with Noma is an online classroom. I'm Gogo Noma, and I'm just here to share my own lived experiences. I'm also here just to share my own experiences, what I'm going through even now at this very moment. I believe that I'm still very young to think I have seen it all in closely mode, in closely practicing full time, as much as the process of Intwaso and the process of me being ordained as Isangoma has like, it's got its own history. It's years now, and we can even talk about anniversaries. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm just full-time practicing at the moment. It's basically less than 2 years where I'm full-time practicing, but I feel all the years where I was little by little practicing as a nurse, working, there was a lot of information that I needed to collect as Sister Noma about the body, about health, anatomy and physiology, in order for me to also come and integrate the two worlds. Hence, when I did epidemiology, it was very interesting for me to see topics such as integration of Western and African medicine, and how we then even look at how Western is the alternative medicine and African medicine, or African ways of healing, is the original medicine, or traditional ways of healing rather is the original medicine, and everything Western is, it's sort of like an advancement of what has already been there. So today we are going to talk about another method of divination that is used by traditional healers, mainly those who are having the spirit, the Ndao spirit, and the Ndao spirit being known by many as the water spirit. So those who have gone through the process of uparula, because we don't talk in Twas or in Dawo, and those are other words that you will maybe understand better once you are in the, how can I put it, when you are a Sangoma, because when we talk, it's the same as Istunya. We talk, hey, ngiyotwas Istunya, ngiyotwas umguni, ngiyotwas abat kahle kahle in Dawo. When we talk about the whole initiation process, the graduation part of it is uparula umdao, because umdao uyaparula. Hence we go to the waters and there are rituals that are done. And uparula means a rite of passage, if I can say so, going through. And when we look at the Ndao spirit, it is a spirit that always is associated with bringing forgiveness into one space. Because when we look at how we got to here in the southern hemisphere, and even all over the world, to find most people will be having the Ndao spirit, is because of the fights that happened between the Nguni and the Ndao people, as you know, during, I think it is the Mfengcane wars. I'm not really I'll say good with my history. I used to hate history class, and now I understand that it was because nothing about Jan van Riebeck resonated with me. So I'm consciously now at this age starting to understand history. I'm going back and I'm really learning. Hence I'm saying, if I remember still correctly from what I've read, it's about the Mfengcane, invading into those areas of Mozambique, Namibia, Zimbabwe. Most of the fights happened around the Zambezi River, and that is where most of the Nzawa people were killed, and their bodies were thrown into the sea. Even some of the Ngunis were also being defeated in those battles, and you would find that their bodies were there. Hence we talk about the water spirits when we talk about the Ndawo spirit. And also, as they invaded their spaces, that is when you found in the relations coming into marrying, not even sometimes marrying out of own will, but you will then find they were marrying because the men have been killed, and therefore the women and children will be taken over. So that is what we are talking about when we talk about the Ndao spirit. Hence it is always referred to as the water spirits. So when we look at why do we then have this Ndao spirit, it is more about the history of our people. And sometimes you will find, as in Zulu, they will talk about Umdawe, meaning that the one who settled here. It means somebody who came into the family. So I'm going to try to differentiate to say, okay, we've got the Nzawo, which is those spirits that come, and most of the time we will find they speak Shona, a language, or Shindawo, a language that will not be understood by those around you if they are not familiar with the language, because they will then be the direct Ndawo bloodline. And also for you as the person, as Gogo Noma, the person who will be carrying the Ndawo spirit, it is very important for me to understand it was lasekhaya or it was lasekhaya or it was langaphandle, meaning sidimusa mohaye or sidimusa kantle. Is it my direct bloodline? Do I look back in history and find I have a direct bloodline relation with the Nzawo people, and it can be a certain tribe, like they've got the Garanga tribes and many other small tribes in the Nzawo nations? Or do I have it as Umdawe spirit, meaning that a spirit that was accommodated by my ancestors, not a direct bloodline? It was langaphandle. It could be through trade. Maybe my great grandparents traded with these people, or it could be through the fights and the wars, as I'm saying, that my grandparents or even them, there was bloodshed between, and this spirit is just coming to appease that history. Or it could be that they were actually married into each other's families, or looking at my history, my grandparents were married into, or my grandmother was married a Ndawo man, or my grandfather married actually a Ndawo woman. So it will be different reason. But even this, as I'm saying, in Ndawo is the same with the Nguni spirit. When we talk about umuntu ophethe idlozi, when the dlozi comes, there's always questions that are asked to say, Nkulu ngubani, how do you relate nekotshwana, how do you relate to Unoma? And then Unkulu will tell you, no, I'm her great grandfather. What are you here to do? What is your job? So those are the questions that dlozi will be asked. Same as Nzawo spirit, you will then it will then be asked, who are you, how do you relate, and what is your work, what did you come to do, and why are you carried by this particular person? And as I've said in my previous lives, for those who have joined me before that, in my case then it was that thing you would see, my mom is Shangani from Shashai Ushilubani, and therefore there is a bloodline relation to the Nzawo people. And even now, when you look at the word now coming to UkuFemba, it is a Shangani, or it roots from a Shangani word which means ukufembezwa. And I think in Venda they say ukufembeza, but it's still more or less the same thing, meaning that you are sniffing out toxins. Many people refer to it in English as African exorcism. I don't know. For me, it's very limiting, because when we talk about the act of exorcism, we are then only concentrating on removal of bad spirits, or as it would be referred in religion, demonic spirit. But UkuFemba, it's more than that. Yes, there is that part of it, or a very big part of it. So then a very big part of it is about removing toxins into from one's body. And the toxins of the bad spirits we talk about ispogo, islwani, bad luck, anything that can be blocking your blessings, anything that can be blocking light in your space. UkuFemba is sort of like ukushanyela, fiela, it's cleaning, and hence, as I'm saying, fiela or ukushanyela, then you will find when the mfembi, or what is the name in it's Nyomroso, that Nyomsoro, yeah, that's the word that we use. Please do forgive me, me and language, we're still getting there. You will find that we use Izdingo, and this is the small shoba that you will then use to, it's a particular animal that is used. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna, or fortunately for me, as I always say, that I'm here to share and not to compromise the sacredness of the practice. The shoba is of a particular animal that will then be used to sniff. And even with the shoba itself, just like the nguni shoba that has umuti that is attached to it, there's also muti that will then be attached to the small shoba that you are using as umfembi, who is going, the exorcist who will be sniffing out this spirits from a person that you are fembering. So those mutis also help not only to protect yourself, but also to enhance the process in itself, and to protect the person that you are healing, because healing also needs for us to understand there's precautions that needs to be taken. Same as in a hospital right now, even you cannot find nurses just coming and approaching you. If you're a new patient, they will be in their PPE, the personal protective attire, and they will make sure that they've got their goggles on, their mask, they've got their gloves, until such time that they know it's safe. So gloves, aprons, everything has always been there, same as the practice of spiritual healing. You all, as much as you are helping the other person, you need to protect yourself. So let me just see how much I've sort of like come to say. Firstly, we discussed what are we talking about when we talk about the Ndawo spirit, and there will be an opening for questions, but I just also want to keep track of where I've been, because I know I can touch here and touch there. So I've talked about Ndawo. I've also said what is UkuFemba. So UkuFemba, like I said, is just that removal of the toxins, or sniffing out. You're sort of like you're sniffing everything out, and upetizing walako and other. It will depend again who you're going to. Remember, guys, as I always say, spirituality is not a religion. Spirituality can be different. It can be one thing, but practiced differently. Like, the principles will always be the same, the foundation will always be the same, but the playing out will not be exactly as Gogo Noma says in Gog's Banbani's Ndumba. But you will find that the process sometimes is exactly the same, but sometimes if there's a little bit of a difference somewhere, it doesn't mean that the other is wrong or the other is better than the other. It will always depend on the clothing that you are moving with. So when we femba, then you have izingwelako, which is sort of like the broom that you're using to sweep, because you will be very close to the person. Maybe then let me start there to say that okay, we talked about who can femba, and you said anybody who has gone through the, I'll say, initiation process of the Nzawo, which is ukparula, as I've said it. It's rituals that are done mainly at the waters. And when you also look at how the process in itself, how do you know I need to femba? So how does this process actually Gogo come to me? How do I get told, or how do I even decide that I need to go and femba? First and foremost, it will always, most of the time, as I said, it depends Ndumba to Ndumba, but in most Ndumbas, as I also practice in my own space, you find that Shayama Tambokala, we go to the Nguni way of divination. We will be throwing the bones. A consultation is done where your ancestors will come and spirit will channel, and we will identify the elements that you carry. This is different elements to say, this is what's happening, this is what's wrong, this is where you are you know, having problems, and it can be ukuthi unesinyama, as it would be said, but lesi sinyama samba nesilwane samba nani, and when we try to get how can we help abantu abadala, they would then say no, this one, you know, you need to go to the root cause and we need to femba. Or sometimes you've got so many things that are showing up even in your thing, in your, how can we put it, in your consultation, and we then say, okay, let's just go and femba, because we can see there's so much happening and we need to really get to the root cause of this. So it mainly comes through the bone divination as you are consulting. Other people who have done UkuFemba before will then sometimes say, okay, Gogo, I feel that it is time for me to femba again, because like any other divination, it's not always that you must come, because in a consultation, for me, I always advise, don't come when you have problems. Sometimes just come to see that everything is still okay. So there are people who have actually made it, you know, a thing. Mina, every year I will go and femba once a year just to see that I'm still working with clean spirits and I'm still okay. And then when you look again, UkuFemba can come by when somebody you are starting with your journey of ubungoma, because UkuFemba is it's an important, like I said, it's about sweeping. It's about sweeping all the spirits that don't serve your space. And this spirits, please do note that it does not only mean izlwani, you know, potokolo shiboing. Sometimes it is also the cleansing of your own ancestors, because you will find that you've got ugogo or umkhulu. Ugogo umkhulu was umthakathi nje. Yes, ugogo was gifted, she was a healer, and she comes bearing those gifts to you. Hence I say, even when you start with your journey as your bungoma or your twasa or your prophet or whatever, this is something that I would advise. I always say to everybody that if I could go back and change, I would have really appreciated if this was done for me at the beginning of my journey. But I don't regret anything. I just feel that it would have, I don't know, maybe changed a lot of things, or saved me from a lot of, you know, hop and go, this Ndumba, and having the many mentors. But again, I appreciate the many mentors in my space, because it is through the different teachings that I am the Gogo Noma that you're seeing today. But UkuFemba is also important when you're somebody who's told you are gifted and you've been going from this Ndumba to that Ndumba, you still don't understand your gift. When you figure Gogo Noma ukutshela ngesithunywa, when you figure to Gogo, you know, mandisa ukutshela ukuthi unesithunywa kumele uthwase, when you get to the other one ukutshela ukuthi hayi kumelanga uthwase unesithunywa kuphela. So there's lots of confusion for you and you don't know exactly where your gift is going. This is a process that can really help. And the reason why I say it can really help, remember I did say in the beginning, when we talk about, for me, African exorcism, it's like we're limiting it, because it's not only about removing of those dark energies, but it is also allowing you to interact netlos lako. So there is a space where when all this spirits that are not serving your space, I'll say then the demonic spirits. And again, the demonic spirits, it can be a person, and the person can be someone who has passed on or someone who is still alive. It can be someone who can identify themselves, or it can be someone who you can identify through their characteristic voice and even the way umfembi will be behaving. Because as you sniff out those spirits, they actually possess your body as umfembi, as the person who is fembering. You sometimes even the voice changes, even the voice takes the tone of that particular person whom the spirit you have captured. Even sometimes the language in itself changes. If abogogo nabomkhulu were speaking Tswana, or the person who is attacking you speaks Tswana, or the person whom you possess is a Ndawo and Bazo, they speak Shindawo, then the language will change of umfembi. But in other times you will find that they will speak the language that you understand. And the process will go the same. Oh yeah, let me, while I am there, also say that UkuFemba, it's not a process that one can do on their own, meaning that you cannot come to Gogo Noma Ndumba like I throw bones alone. That one cannot happen. UkuFemba needs the umfembi to have an assistant, because you are surrendering. I am bringing the spirit to life. I'm allowing spirit to possess my body. Hence it is a very intense exercise or intense divination method. They talk about it, when you look at other writings or most literature research articles, papers that are written about UkuFemba, they refer to it as divination of mediumship, meaning I am becoming the medium, totally surrendering myself, and the spirit channels through me. I'm not there, and he's there, and he's just taking over after everything. If there was any message or whatever it needs, the message needs to be told again to me. So it is exactly that. When we come to UkuFemba, the umfembi is possessed by the spirit, and the spirit channels totally through umfembi. If it is a person, like I say, somebody who, it can be somebody who has passed on or somebody who's still alive. And most of the time, for me, in my own space, in my own experience, if it is someone who's still living, it is very rare that you would find them saying their name. But from their behavior, from the behavior of umfembi, from the way they speak, the certain words that they choose to use, you as the person who is being fembered will identify in your space who, or you will be able to identify in your space who that person is. As umfembi is acting out, already the name will come to you, or the person will automatically come into your head, and you will know, yay, okay, it means Lomuntu is actually doesn't have good intentions for me, because that's what they will say. They will tell you about the bad intentions that they have. Some will even tell you about the acts, evil acts that they're doing, lighting certain candles for you, praying at certain corners for you, doing certain things for those who are working in office spaces to your table. All those things will be revealed in UkuFemba. And then the second thing again is that, like I said, it can be someone who's alive, someone who has passed on. And those who have passed on, it might be somebody that you know, or this can be somebody who is actually coming into your space because of the bloodline history. Hence we talk about you understand, cleansing the bloodline. Uzothola ukuthi umkhulu wakho was a womanizer, and because of that, now where you always have this women that are always hurting you. Noma kuthiwa ufuna ukuthanda umuntu kanjani, as a man, women always hurt you, and this can be something that is coming from a bloodline ukuthi umkhulu wakho used to hurt women, and now kukhona ugogo who was hurt so much, and she has told herself ukuthi angihambi la, ngizoyenza sure ukuthi there's no male in this family that will not be hurt by men, because umkhulu wenu, this is what he was doing. Amanye amaxesha uzothola ukuthi it was a promise that was made by your ancestors to a certain chabalala, or to a certain mudubi or whoever, but it's a promise that was made by your ancestors to a certain clan or a certain family, and this family is still coming to claim a promise. Umkhulu came, we assisted him, and he told us he's got lots of sisters, and he will bring one for our child to marry, and we're still waiting to today. Others even accepted cows, and a wife was not given. So it can be many reasons, guys. I'm just picking those that are just on top of my head. And then the other thing, it can be an animal, umoya wesilwane, that is being used to possess you, where you will find then umfembi acting like a cat. If it is the spirit of a cat that is possessing you, umfembi acting sort of like slithering down on the floor like a snake. If it is a snake that is sort of like possessing you, umfembi whispering or whistling like a bird, if it is a bird that is possessing you, or even an owl, like an owl, because whatever spirit that is not serving your space, that is what will be carried, or that is what will be acted out by the person who's fembering you. So those are the kind of things that you will then need to expect, and hence most of the time when umuntu does ofemba, it is always advised to say you can bring someone or even some family members who can come and support you, or even your friends who you may trust, and you will say that they can come and accompany you, because it is a very intense process, and because you're not used to seeing all these things, you might be so, concentrating and so scared of what is happening in front of you that you're not able to ask the questions that you wanted to ask. And if you have spoken to the people who are accompanying you, then they can maybe on your behalf help you remember. And again, ugogo or umfembi that is fembering will not be doing this process alone, but the assistants, because you cannot really understand some of the languages, like I say, or you cannot really understand the behavior of why ugogo manje eshintshile. So the assistant is there, and the assistant is mostly then referred to as unyankwabe, the one who assists inyanga. Unyankwabe is the assistant to inyanga, and that person will be assisting to say, talk to them, ask this, ask that, because they are familiar with the process. So you need to then have that person who's familiar with the process helping you to relax. At the end of the exorcism, then, where we talk about the removal of all these toxic or demonic spirits in your system, you will find that then ugogo or umkhulu then kuvela amadlozi wakini. And abogogo nabomkhulu who are then related to you, ugogo uzofika naye. Hence we then talk about UkuFemba being idlozi lomzawo and idlozi lomguni working together in a way. And you will understand now as I explain why. Because when we start, and when the process starts, when the process starts, it will be different for different ndumbas, but in most cases you will find ukuthi kube necansi or kumele uhlale phansi. There's a grass mat that is put. In other places you will find that they put umuti on top of the grass mat, and the muti that is mostly used when we femba is called lifembo. It's from trees in Mozambique. It's lifembo, so it's muti that is actually, that's why UkuFemba also comes from that, or umuti comes from the word ukuthi this is ilifembo. Umuti ozosiza ukuthi sikwazi ukufemba, umuti ozosiza ukuthi sikwazi sniffing out of the spirits, and that will be sort of like scattered around the mat that you're going to sit on. Other ndumbas, you will find that lifembo lona is put in a bottle, or others take a bowl of water and they actually put ifembo in the water. Others, you will find that there's a bag that is then called umtundu that the fembo will be put in, because as the dlozi, remember when the umfembi is holding the spirits, the spirit will talk, the spirit will interact and tell you why it's there, why it's doing all these things. And there will be a time when umfembi needs to release the spirit so that another spirit can then interact with you, and they don't release it on top of you. If it is a toxic spirit, they need to sort of like release it in a controlled space where umfembi and the assistant unyankwabe knows what is going to be the ritual that will be done for the spirits to be released in purity, or to even be chased away, as you would then be chasing them away, but in a way that does not say manje hamba uphume ku Noma uyongena kuzbanban, but in a controlled way. And like I say, some things are sacred, so it will be that kuzothiwa ukuthi kuts meaning sniff, and then makuthiwa kuts, and then kumele ukuthi ulahle lahla, it's sort of like thwela, you need being directed umfembu ukuthi you need to let go, and they would then release the spirit into this controlled environment where most of the time you will find that ifembo will be the muti that is used, and ifembo will also be used for you as umuti that is going to be part of your cleansing, because we are still just removing and siyafemba kuwe. So yeah, there will be an assistant, there will be that setting, you will sit down, you will in most cases you don't have anything on your head, you don't have anything on your feet. Your socks and your head wrap is removed. And in other places you find that the top part of you need to be left with your bra only, and other places they actually ask you to remove your clothes because they don't want. And like I say, it will depend on different practices. You'll be told to remove your clothes and to only have a certain ancestral cloth that you would be given gagogo gamkulu that you're gonna wrap yourself with, because then they will say they don't want the spirits being on your clothes. Others, you're still wearing your clothes. I believe, it all depends on how the practice works in itself. And others, you will just sit on the grass mat and the muti will not be there, but the muti will be in a certain space where they know how to control the spirits. And then the other thing is, as you prepare for UkuFemba, there might be certain things that you're asked to bring. In other places, you might just be asked to bring yourself, just come as you are, and everything will be seen after UkuFemba. But in many places, you might find that you are asked to bring a chicken, or if umkhulu gogo sebenza ngembuzi uzocela ukuthi uze nembuzi so that it can be slaughtered. But I believe now in this day and age, it's a chicken, and that for me is what I use in my practice. If umuntu azofemba, that is an animal that we actually bring even before the process starts. And there are reasons why we bring the chicken before the process starts, because other times the chicken can be presented in different methods to the spirit that is being possessed as it demands things. And then once the process, like I say, has started, it is a very hectic process for both you emotionally as the person who's seeing this, and it is also a very dangerous process for the umfembi, because you are allowing whatever spirit to come into you. So that is why before the process that you will find imfiso, it's sort of like that muti. I don't have mine close by, I thought it's here, but imfiso you'll find most sangomas having those balls around their neck, a bead that has balls. Imfiso is that. You will find that umfembi is going to have to wear imfiso yake for protection. And also there are certain things that you're going to put beads that are going to go on you, that are going to protect you, and there'll be certain clothing that you are wearing from the head and downwards. And when umfembi starts in different Ndumbas, it will be different practices. Others, you will find kukhona unyangwabe, the one who will be assisting with the fembering process, and there should also be those who will be beating the drums and singing. So it's necessary for the Ndawo songs to be sung and for the Ndawo spirit to be invited. In other instances, you might find ukuthi unyangwabe no gogo, and the nyangwabe is just using amashigishi, like I don't know what you call them, but now it's even going for me in Sesotho. Like sort of like they will do that, and that invites the Ndawo spirit, because then ugogo. The thing is that, remember, I am the one who's going to be fembering you. The first thing that needs to be seen mohonna kisidimusaka. Those that fember with me, they know my Ndawo spirit. They know ugogo umkhulu ukuthi makafika wenza. So they need to see first that unoma is gone. The Ndawo spirit is the one that is there, that is taking over. Hence then we can know that it's a safe environment, and the other spirits can then be invited. But the thing is, as I said, others might be people, others might be animals, others might identify themselves, others might not identify themselves. The important thing is that the spirit is there. It tells you what it came to do, and you are able to chase it away into your life. Hence, even there you would, I know in most instances, you will find abogona saying, you need to curse it. We curse it. You're not cursing at Gogo, you are actually cursing at the spirit, or you need to Osha the spirit, be very harsh with it, talk to it, just be loud. Hi, do that. You are sort of as if like they do in the churches. Get out, fire. The whole church will be saying fire. So it's the same concept, guys. The spirit will then be possessing ugogo instead of coming through you, and you will then be asked to say fire to the spirit. Go away, Tamaya, hakupati. Stop taking things that don't belong to you. Stop blocking my ways. Amaya, you don't serve my space. Get out of my space. You are darkness. I'm a child of light, and therefore I don't need. So you will say everything and anything that you would probably say to your enemy to get them out of your way. At the end of the exorcism part of UkuFemba. And again, let me say this. When it comes to Ispogo, Islwani, they can range from 2 to 3, and some can even have more than 10. It will depend on where you've been in life, how long you've actually had cleansings, or if you've never had a cleansing, how are things in your life, what is actually happening. So it will depend on different things also. How many spirits are you talking about? So UkuFemba is different for each person. I cannot just say with UkuFemba it's 1 hour. For one person it can be 1 hour, and this can range from 1 hour to even 4, 5, 6 hours. I think for me the longest ever I was in closing mode fembering, it was somewhere around 6 hours. And you can imagine with 6 hours being possessed by different clauses entering your body out, and like by the time I was done, I was finished. I didn't want food, I didn't want nothing, I just wanted to lie flat and sleep. And remember, they still need to sort of like tell me what has happened, because if they don't, then the spirits, it feels like you were dreaming, but you were not in the dream. It's sort of like an amnesia part of your life. It's 6 hours that you don't know what happened to, because you were not present, but spirit was channeling through you. So it's also very important for Unyangwabe to note important things that will help you once you are out of spirit mode, and they explain to you ukuthi kufika ugogo, kufika ubani, oh hey ube nesilwane ikati. They don't necessarily have to tell you everything the silwane said, but they just need to at least tell you ukuthi kwafika lona, kwafika lona, kwafika lona, and then lona naye wafika, lona naye wafika, and you are able to understand what was happening in the 6 hours that you were not there. And then the other thing is then that after the exorcism, as I have said, after the removal of this toxic spirits, after the removal of this demonic spirit, as we would then refer to them, you will find ukuthi idlozi lakho manje liyavela, abogogo nabomkhulu beza. They come and they tell you laba bathi I'm gifted and I don't understand my gift. Then the gift bearers start coming. Sometimes ugogo umkhulu who comes is not necessarily going to be the gift bearer, but it will be idlozi that can come and give direction. And people always ask to say, Gogo, can I ask for umkhulu wam to come? Can I ask for ugogo wam to come? Can you please channel so and so? Please remember that I am not choosing who to channel. I am not choosing who to channel. It was the spirit that is necessary for your healing is the one that's going to come. So the other thing we need to remember about UkuFemba is that it is not about what you want. It is about what you need. So the spirits that are going to channel is the spirits that are going to come and have sort of like a reason why they are here in the space. If ufuna to Gogo Eze because you miss Gogo, we can try and channel through bone throwing in divination. If ugogo wako is not going to serve any healing purposes in your life or in this divination that is being done, ugogo is not going to come. You can find ukutukuzoza ugogo. Sorry guys, sinuses now. Uzothola ukuthi kuza ugogo who passed away long before you were born, long before your mom and dad met, because the people who are coming in your space are the people that are necessary for the healing that needs to take place. So kufana nokuthi I'll say the Nguni divination throwing of bones, you are coming to Gogo Noma, the general practitioner, and I'm able to diagnose that you've got a headache. But now Masia UkuFemba, then it is where Idlozi has referred you to the specialist that you require. If you need a neurologist will come. If you need a cardiologist will come. You are in a surgical procedure now. We are dissecting rakata. We are seeing things that cannot be seen by the naked eye. We are seeing things that cannot be seen just through bone throwing. And in this case, again, it is very much the absence of my ego as Gogo Noma, as Usangoma. Just earlier today, I was talking to somebody in a consultation and I was telling them, actually, it was sort of like my mentees were here and we were advising on something. And I said, the one thing I've learned over the years and even over the few months as a full-time Sangoma now practicing, there are those consultations that push you into a corner of surrendering the ego, as we always say, because as Gogo Noma, I've got father issues, and when your father issues come up, they trigger the wound in me, and I need to put myself aside and give you the advice that Itlo's Lako is saying. If your Itlozi is saying reach out to your father, that's exactly what I need to say, and forget what is happening in my life. As Gogo Noma, I might be having financial problems, and when if Itlo's Lako is telling you that for your financial problems, listen, you need to sell this and do that, I need not be judgmental or take it to say you cannot, you can, you cannot, you can. So when it comes to UkuFemba, you are surrendering as umfembi, and Itlozi is taking over, and I cannot choose. Remember already from the time ngizawena, because when we start, I'm actually at a distance from you. Some will say be at the door. Like I said, guys, different ndumbas, different ways of practicing. Abanye ugogo will be at the door. Abanye you will be next to umtundu. Umtundu being the crossmat where amagona bogogo na bomkhulu are being placed. Oh yeah, and as the person who's going to be fembat, there's also igono la manzawo that is used, so there's certain muti in it, and then you will be having oil that will be applied. Others it will be on your little finger, others it will definitely, they will ask you to open your hands, and you can actually rub it on your hands, so that even ugogo or fembayo, you have come with your family and people are supporting you, that muti, that gono, those oils will definitely tell Itlozi that this is the person that you're supposed to be fembering, and they won't then go around everybody. They will just concentrate on where you are. So yeah, when it was luckily liba corner, you will find Gogo is a little bit further, and as I come, I'm already like Gogo Noma is no longer there, and I cannot consciously choose to say, can I please ask Uguti Ugogo wagabani bani eze? Ugogo wako knows you. You grew up around her, and maybe when she comes, she'll be biased. Hence, it will be somebody whom you don't even know. But they will always, it was Lako, they will always sort of like identify Uguti bani. And it is also very important for Unyangwabe to be present, because this is where then they come and ask Uguti Gogo ungubani, and Ugogo will identify themselves with, hi, mina ngigunoma. Okay, Noma umang ukopana jwang li mandisa. Oh, umandisa mtanam. Okay, Gogo uze ngani namhlanje? Hey, ngiyabona umntana uyahlupheka. Hey Gogo, sinathi siyabona ukuthi umntana uyahlupheka. Sibonile lesi sipoko lesi siphumile lapha. We saw this toxic demonic spirits. Why? What is happening? How can we help your child? Hence I say it was the low lessons. You will find that now it also works hand in hand in UkuFemba with other clauses, because it was lomunzawo will be fembering. But then when it was lipuma, most of the time we are talking about now your direct bloodline. We talk about the Nguni spirit. Because when you talk about the Nguni spirit, it is more lelikosi el khulumayo. Sidimo se buang, sidimo se fanang ka ditaba, sidimo se fanang ka dipheko, who will be identified as amagedla, as inyanga. So that part of the consultation or the divination also comes in, where after all these toxins have been removed, then we need to find the cures from abantu abadala, and that is where your grandmother will come and say, yeah, no, hey, re thaba hore le tlositse le hlapise ngwana. Hona le any particular muti that you would like for us to use for umntana Gogo? And if Ugogo was igedla, they might tell us what do we need to use. Maybe for an example, again, some of the spirits that you carry, you are always moving around, whether you are forever in other people's places, you are forever at clubs, you are forever drinking, and your spirit at that time sorry guys, your spirit at that time, you're going to find that you are picking up a lot of spirit, because when you're drunk, remember, you're very vulnerable when you're drunk. You are very vulnerable when you're drunk, and that is where we are always picking up the spirit, because I'll be driving from a club. First of all, the roads that we're driving on, there's many accidents that have happened. And some people, yes, their spirits went to be collected. Others, they're still roaming around, and nobody has claimed imimoya yabo. Because it's, very religious people who don't believe that a spirit should be collected from where it ended. So those will be the different reasons why you will find somebody having all the spirits. and then ugogo uzobuya at, hey, please, please cleanse my child, use muti to cleanse this child. And if there's mpandes that, or miriana, herbs that needs to be used in particular from your ancestors, they will then choose and pick which they want to, and in addition to what they see, because it was this. Okay, this is another thing that we need to bring and understand, that not all glosses will say sebenzisen iskanama, ayifakani amanzi amhlophe, ayifakani lena nalena, because already they know when you come into my space and it was lakho comes through me, there's already a relationship created, there's already an understanding. So ugogo wakho already knows the mix that is used in my space, ukuthi kuzoba nefembo nani 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 in the muti that's going to help you steam. And they understand my practice ukuthi ugogo ute she must come with a chicken, so the chicken is going to be slaughtered, and this is what's going to be used from the chicken to cleanse my child, and this is also what's going to be done to the chicken once this is, this is done, or once the cleansing is done, or once we then agree ukuthi this is how the cleansing is going to be ukufuta 99. So Idlozi lakho already knows that process that's going to follow after ifembo, after UkuFemba. But if there's anything additional that ugogo or umkhulu would like for me to do for you, then ugogo uzokhuluma ukuthi hayi lona ngicela ukuthi nimfakele ngathi nifaka kakhulunyana isikanama lapho. This is because of their behavior. So it will also depend on, like I'm saying, what it was like, or sometimes it's because kunempande yasekhaya, and this is umuthi that was used a lot ekhaya. For an example, amaXhosa, they would have umkhaka to bring idlozi elimhlophe, idlozi elihle. And for somebody who is maybe having a spiritual calling and they've come hotlobona horina where is the spiritual calling, and ugogo and umkhulu knows I've got the muti in my space, they will then say, please, for my child, add this muti to the mixture that's going to cleanse them. If it is somebody who's coming Kimosutu, there's different mutis for Basotho that will also be asked for. If you are a vendor, it will be, it will be different reasons of addition to the treatment from different clauses. Abanye, they would even say, instead of just bathing, futtering, please menzeleni imbiza, ayophuza imbiza. Others will say, yeah, kumele ukuthi aphalaze even before futa wenzani. And that brings me then to the time of day when UkuFemba is being done. Again, different practices, different ways of doing things. And please, guys, do note that this lesson will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can always watch it later on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Learning with Noma. I'm gonna upload it depending on how long it's going to be. It will maybe have a part 1 and a part 2, but it will be uploaded on YouTube. So when it comes to the time of UkuFemba, you will find that in most places, especially emakhaya, UkuFemba will be done before dawn of day, like before the sun comes up, or very early in the morning, like your 7. Abanye abantu bazokutshela ukuthi I only femba between 6 and 10. After 10 I don't femba. I only femba between 6 and 12. After midday I don't femba. Others, they tell you I only femba after 3 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night. Before 3 I don't femba. Others, like myself, who is very much, me, I'm free-spirited and I don't limit idlozi in any way. Anytime is still go time. And other people, it will be because they will femba you in the morning, they're expecting you to come with an empty stomach, you're not supposed to eat. Others, it will be in the evening because they believe that umuthi also and so should be used in the evening, or you cannot be removing this dark energies during the day. You need to do them at the end of the day because they're dark energies and they need to be sort of like exited into darkness and stay there and be blocked there. So there's many reasons why a nyanga or umfembi will then choose the time of day, or even choose how they will do UkuFemba. And also the other thing that is also out there and put is that you won't femba, like I say, with a full stomach. You will need to have an empty stomach. You will be undressed, socks out, head wrap off, and in other spaces your whole clothes will be taken off and you have an ancestral cloth. And again, when you're on your menstrual periods, because it has been classified as impure, and that is also something that we can argue about, because when you look at the UkuFemba process in itself, it's your body releasing all the negativity and releasing, I'll say, everything that does not serve your space. And as a woman, when you look at yourself, when you're on your menstrual cycle, that is the body releasing whatever that is not necessary anymore in the body. But there are certain people who will even tell you, Noma uthi uzohlola, the first thing that you're asked, are you on your menstrual cycle? Which is, for me, guys, I don't know, maybe I'm fighting for feminine rights, for feminine rights, in that manner. I feel violated. Like, what does my menstrual cycle have to do with you? I'm still walking, I'm still standing. And those of you who have visited my YouTube channel, you will know about the lesson that I did on Upahla and the menstrual cycle, and how I really feel about how it has been impurified, how we are seen as impure, how we are seen as dirty, when actually, when you go back to history in African spirituality, in African tradition, it was never demonized like that. We were never seen. This is something that comes from religion. In African spirituality, the menstrual period of a woman was something that was very sacred and very much respected, and they understood that in that time, that is when your spirit radar is very heightened. Hence, most women would be given time to rest. Not to say do not cook because you are impure. Our ancestors understood physiology better than anybody at a very early stage of their lives, or at a very early era, because when you are going through a menstrual cycle, your body's going through a lot physically, physiologically, hormones, you've got cramps, your womb is doing things. It's like you've got tides of the sea. That's why most women, you will find that your menstrual cycles are in alignment with the moon phases. During the full moon, when we do the release rituals, that is when you will find most women also being on their menstrual cycle, because feminine energy is being carried by the moon. Most women are lunar energy filled, and our wombs are like the sea. Remember, this is where life begins, with water. So when you talk about UkuFemba, then in most Ndumbas, you will be told that if you are going through your menstrual cycle, please do not come. Wait until the menstrual cycle is finished. And the reason so far that I have found, somebody will correct me somewhere if I am may be missing something, but so far in all the Ndumbas, all Bomkulu and Abogogo that I've spoken to, in all literature that I've read, the reason why you must not be there when you have your menstrual cycle is single one, because you are impure and you are dirty, so they feel you should not be in their Ndumbas because you're dirty, so that is the only reason for me. And hence I say, for me, in my space, it's sort of like, okay, we can talk about it and we can see, but I'm really against it. If anything, I stand 110% against the thing. It's the same as even when you come to a Peshweni in a space of being a Twasa, there are Ndumbas where one is required to sort of like stay when you are on your menstrual cycle, and because of that, there are certain things that you cannot do. Listen, I understand why. And when you look at the menstrual cycle, it's about energies. As a woman, your energies physically, they are very low, but spiritually they are very heightened. And when it comes to umuti, energy is important. And therefore, I don't want you touching umuti, trying to heal people when I know physically you're going through a lot. It's the same as when I'm not feeling well. I'd rather cancel appointments. I'd rather tell somebody that, can we please rebook? I'm not feeling well today. Because how am I going to heal you when I'm not well myself? Remember, healing is an energy that is being transferred. I'm transferring energy from myself to you. That's why we always say that heal the healer. We need to understand that as healers, we need to fill our cups first. I mean, I always tell people that I don't want you drinking from my cup. I want you drinking from the saucer. And once my saucer is empty, I need to recharge. I'd rather cancel the appointment and say, can we reschedule, than come and be very much unproductive, and instead of bringing healing into your space, bring energies that are actually gonna make you go down a little more. Yabon. So that is the reason to say abogogo nabomkhulu once feel that you are impure. And again, I understand that maybe even when we use umuti on you, your energies are so low and they would want you to be at a higher vibration. But that those are the two things. You need to be early in Dumbas where they're required to be early with an empty stomach. Secondly, when you're on your menstrual cycles, you need not to come for UkuFemba. You need to disclose, or let me say you need to disclose to Gogo and Umkulu, and they will then tell you how they operate in their space, or they will ask you, mainly they will ask you. I believe if you're not asked, it means Ugogo Umkulu really doesn't see the problem in that. And the other thing is abanye abantu before UFemba, there's a certain cleansing that they might feel they need to do for you first, or it could be that uyahlola and Ugogo, instead of saying I'm gonna double charge you for endless cleansings and let's just do UkuFemba, and when we do the cleansing holistically, knowing exactly what we are dealing with. And sometimes when you do that, when ufuta, because okay, this is again, guys, a very important thing to remember. After UkuFemba, in most ndumbas and in most practices, you will find that I'll say 99.9% of practices, it is very advised that you cleanse immediately after UkuFemba. Hence, ifembo is always there, and the cleansing will include isfuto, and it will include ugeza, the body, the bathing of the body, water being poured on you, or even getting into a bath and bathing. Because remember, we've just cleaned. It's like we're doing how can I put it? For a house, it will be like spring cleaning a house. So you have to sort of like clean everything and get rid of the energies while you're still in that space. When you go home, you're entering into a new person altogether. Other times you might find that then you are even given umuti to go home with. And UkuFemba is not only limited to you as a person. Even when we go when we go to protect your house as Gogo Noma, somebody who practices in UkuFemba, there are certain instances where fembe before Thokozani, thank you guys for the gifts, where fembe, and UkuFemba can not only be done also to people or to houses, but even a car can be fembered. So it's not really limiting. UkuFemba, it's sort of like, sniffing out each and every object. Sometimes you can even bring how can I say, when you come to it and things are not okay at work, you can bring something that you use at work, your laptop, your pen, your whatever, just to sniff from and take a picture. Because remember, spirit, you cannot limit spirit. The minute you bring something that is familiar with an environment, spirit will go there and it will pick up if there are energies that are not being used well for you in that environment. So we cannot limit it. So you can femba you as a person when we protect the home. And most of the time when it's home protection, you will be advised that everybody who stays in that house, please be present on that day when Ugogo is coming to protect the house, because then as we femba, we will be fembering. Remember, there's no point of cleansing a space and then people who are not okay are still going to enter into it, and there's also no point of me cleansing you and your space. That's why when you are coming to femba as a person and Dumbenika Gogo, most of the time you will be given muti ukutuhambuyo. Yeah, you're going to sort of like burn and cleanse your space while you're burning the muti, and you will also be given, so in my space most of the time, yes, there's muti that I can give you holo chesa, but most of the time I'll give you incense sticks to go and sort of like smudge your space with the incense sticks, the incense stick that I'll be giving you. I don't really use impepo that much, and I don't like giving impepo also for people who don't know completely how to channel energies. So I'd rather use incense stick because I know particularly which energies I'm channeling. Like if I'm giving you protection incense sticks, if I'm giving you Palo Santo, if I'm giving you go away evil, I know exactly the intention of the incense sticks that I'm giving, and it feels safer for me. Sister Noma, at the end of the day, I won't say to you, go drink this tablet, this pain medication. I need to know if I've given you Panado, or if I've given you brufen, or if I've given you codeine, you understand. So that is me in my practice. It makes me feel I sleep better at night. And then those are the things that you'll be given. Umuti that you might also continue bathing with at home for a few days. Umuti that you might need to burn in your space if there's a need for that. There might be even also a need for you to come back. After 7 days you need to come back, because we have done this cleansing and we have removed. Maybe after 7 days there'll be a need for you to come back for another bath to be done for whatever reason. And other times you find that even as UkuFemba, it will give other instructions. One of them can be that you need, yes, you can do this, but after certain time they will tell you, okay, after a period of 7 days you need to arrange for a river ritual. Others not even just to phahla, they will say you need to bring offerings, and you are also going there to fetch what we will then call, not even fetch, but to get inhlanhla yakho to connect with your water people, because but meeting the Ndawo spirits, they are also known as the gift, not even gift, the wealth bearers. They are all about trade. The Ndawo people are all about trade. So yes, in a nutshell, guys, that is UkuFemba. UkuFemba is done by someone who has the Ndawo spirit, and not everyone can actually do UkuFemba. I am a living testimony. Ke parotse my Ndawo spirit 2015, but there is certain rituals and practices that needs to be done for you to fully say ngiyafemba ngomdza wami. And this was something that I had to go, those rituals and umlando, as they would call it in from Mozambique side, umlando womdzawo needs to be really followed in order for one to say ukuthi ngizofemba. So after about 4 or 5 years, there were certain rituals that needed to be done for my Ndawo spirit to actually fully function in UkuFemba. It is a very hectic and strenuous exercise, so the cost is very expensive, just so we are all aware, and depending on what you are being charged for, but it is nothing, I think in this day and age, nothing less than 2,000 rand. And you will find it will depend. Maybe Gogo will be saying to you, you bring this in UkuFemba and the money for treatment will come after. But in most instances, the charge sort of like becomes your UkuFemba, the divination process, and even including any sort of treatment that might be needed after. Hence, you will really have to understand, you have to dig deep into your pocket when it comes to UkuFemba. Again, not just about the UkuFemba, and it also, the attachment of the team that is available for ugogo, because like I say, it will be ugogo, it will be abantu abashaya isigubhu. If there are people who are shaying isigubhu, it will be the nyankwabe. So all those people also need to bakhanthetswe. It's the same as when you come, like I'm saying, in a hospital, or when you come to a general practitioner. When you come to a general practitioner, you will find that you're paying 550 for a consultation, because the doctor is just going to put a stethoscope, write a script, and you go. But once we are then referring you to go for a surgical procedure, then surgery, first of all, theater. Okay, no, first of all, the surgeon that is coming to operate on you, there's an assistant surgeon, there's the theater staff, there's the theater in itself that needs to be booked, there's an anesthetics doctor, I always get that word, who's going to help you to sleep. There is a team that needs to be ready in CSSD for the packages or the theater packets that doctor is going to use. So there's just like, there's a lot. So because of the team that needs to work, the multidisciplinary team that needs to be present for this process, and all of them needs to be acknowledged. It was labo kumele likhanyiselwe. Hence you would find also the price being a little bit steep than just your normal divination with the bones. And like I say, UkuFemba can be done by anybody at any time. When you feel that you need this in, the intense cleansing, or it's just something that you have already picked up from bones being thrown. Ugogo is advising that you go through it. UkuFemba can be done for an individual. UkuFemba can be done for a family. UkuFemba. Oh yeah, and there's also a question of, Gogo, do I need to be present for UkuFemba? If you can, by all means, yes, that is the traditional way, that is the advised way of doing it. But like I always say, we do not limit spirit. And sometime not so long ago, as I said, it's less than 2 years I'm practicing, and I am fully doing UkuFemba. I'm sure in a week, a week doesn't pass without UkuFemba being done in Dumbeni. But there was a time a few months back when I was really pushed into a corner. Somebody who's on another side of the world was really in need of this, and at those times it's when it pushes you to go beyond the normal. It's where you understand that spirituality is not a religion. It's not a dog. You cannot dogma it and say this is the way that it's done and the only way. So I had to partner, and I had to find alternative ways to help this person, and I knew that UkuFemba was the only way I can help, and I did not have a ticket to fly out of the country, and not me alone, but with my entourage of Unyankwabe and the other thing I knew that was very impossible was for that person to travel from where they are in another part of the world to come this side. And we had to partner, and yes, in my space, there are ways that we can do UkuFemba if really you cannot reach my space, and we can do it with other means. And I'm just gonna say, if it comes to a push, you can talk to me privately and we can discuss that. Like I say, it's not the traditional way, but I was amazed, and even to today I'm still in contact with the person, still bearing testimony of how everything worked out after we did that process for them, even if it was not in a physical kind of a form, but they were present for the whole process. And Muti was discussed beforehand to say this is what you're going to need in your space where you are, and this is how we are going to do it. So you can never limit spirit. Spirit will always push your boundaries, and it will always get you out of what is comfortable, and it will always make you see that you are limiting me. Yes, this is the traditional way. This is how it has always been done. For the longest time, I was struggling to understand, how am I going to consult online? How am I going to consult with the phone? Because I come from a background of a person needs to be here. You must blow into the back of bones. Your breath is necessary. But even now, to those who come for the one-on-one consultations, they don't blow. Firstly, we've got COVID, so I'm not going to be giving my bag of bones to everybody. So really there are ways in which you can connect with spirit besides their traditional old way. So yebo guys, I hope that I have I have covered what needed to be covered about UkuFemba. Now, let us see what the questions are saying. Mandisa, what did I miss? I'm not going to go up. So Mandisa will be my person. If there's anything that I didn't cover or didn't answer, please, those who are coming in, do note that the lesson will be uploaded on YouTube. So I'm not going to repeat anything that I have said. You can visit my YouTube channel later, tomorrow, or